Hi, everyone. Welcome to class number 2, Kabbalah 3. I'm Allison, and happy to be able to be with you here online and all of our friends from all over the world and all our mentors. And for the class tonight, it's just going to be me. Michal's not going to be joining us. And we just want to check in the chat to see if anyone was able to share a little bit. Yes. Okay. So I see that Michelle says, despite her awareness, she just did too much right side, very few boundaries, and promised yourself to try harder. Okay. We'll all support you, Michelle. And Hugo said he tried to be balanced and mentioned last week that some areas you felt that you were more on the right side and others on the left. So the effort is naturally to be more right. And Marisol said, and to enforce boundaries and to be more left column. Okay. Okay, good. Anyone else want to share? You can even raise your hand. We can open the mic. Does anyone want to share about last, how that was for you last week? To go over that? Any examples you saw, any time that you noticed about these two columns? Anyone? Okay, well, hopefully you'll be more talkative throughout the class. So, Daniel, are you on the Zoom that you can put up the PowerPoint? Are you with us? So, Daniel or Yonatan? Okay. Okay, I'm going to try to reach out to them separate to see. Basically, tonight's class is, it's about the concepts of the soul and death. So a lot of what we're going to share is going to be about just deeper insights, more spiritual into perhaps some of like the big questions that we've had in life that pertain to this idea about dying and why why it exists, why it has to happen like that in life. So we've spoken about how there's a journey not only of our body through the world and in the time that we're living, but there's also a journey of the soul. And that journey of the soul is through lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And included in this life that we have, beyond the soul, we have our body, right? So our body is connected to the things in our life that are physical choices. So our body is, it could be about like what we look like, what we want to look like, the type of characteristics we have, the things that, we love about our body, we don't like about our body. It's the choices that our soul made to come into a body that looks the way that our face looks, our features look. Yes, maybe some of it is hereditary. We might have similar genes and look like our parents or our grandparents or our brothers or our sisters. This is all mostly physical, but there's specific reason why we chose to look the way we look. So it's physical, but it's also spiritual. The physical things that we choose when we come into the world also could be the location that we live and that maybe multiple locations we lived, but there's a reason that we chose like specifically that place that we were born, right? Like I've had 3 children. I have 4 kids, 3 of them born in Los Angeles, California, 1 born in Hollywood, 1 born in Beverly Hills, and 1 born in Westwood. 3 different hospitals, right? There's a reason physically that each one of them had to come into, that specific location, and another child in London. So those, there's a physical aspect to our our lives and the evolution of our lives. We've also like spoken about astrology in Kabbalah too. So there's a reason that we chose the sign that we chose. This is all making up our physical attributes in the world, the date of our birth, the place of our birth, who our parents are. And throughout all this journey and our souls involved, the soul has existed much more than just one time now for the few decades that we've lived in our physical life. Okay, so if the soul is eternal, and the soul doesn't necessarily have like a beginning of the journey and an end of a journey, it's always existed. So why would this have to be broken up by death, right? The soul doesn't change as far as the tikkun of the soul. And it's interesting because what did we learn in Kabbalah 2 class 2 was tikkun. So this is mirroring now and going deeper into this and the questions that you might have had in the past few months after learning this of why does the soul's evolution have to be broken up by something called death? And what we learn, what Kabbalah explains, is that we've all had lifetimes where maybe we didn't know that we had to contribute to changing our soul. Maybe we didn't, maybe not changing our soul, but changing our tikkun and growing. And we actually, on the reverse, perhaps did certain mistakes along the way that created more baggage for our tikkun. And that's something I wanted to bring up in last week's class as well, because what happens is as the soul evolves and goes through lifetimes and lifetimes, if it doesn't have in the physical world a reminder and an environment that is spiritual, reminding the body like why the challenges and why the pain and why the fears exist, most of what happens is that instead of correcting the tikkun, there's like more baggage that gets packed onto the tikkun. Does that make sense? Unfortunately, it is what it is, right? You're here now and you're learning this, and in 1 second, you can make a switch that can make up for hundreds of lifetimes. Like, let's look at it that way. But in other lifetimes, if you're here and living in this life now, it is 99.9% that you have something to do. You have work to do. You have this correction to make. So in the evolution of the soul, most of the time we haven't been perfect in past lives and we've picked up more baggage. And what happens is that those lifetimes have contributed more to creating more tikkun rather than helping. And death happens when the body is no longer able to handle the lack of change and evolution in a positive way of the soul. So it's connected to the body as a host. And if the soul comes to a place that the change that it needed to make as it came into this world and chose to come into this world hasn't been met, or hasn't been corrected, then there's no other choice for the soul but to leave that body and to be incarnated into another body. And there's so many like really fascinating stories. You might have seen them online and you can Google them, or we can send them in your mentor groups about we spoke about this a little last week, like children that that they're remembering like these really detailed even names of who they were in a past life, war pilots, well, I'll send you a few links, but it's fascinating to see the truth of this. Like unmistakably, there's no way that children, we spoke about it a little bit last week also, no way that children could, I mean, I see what Hugo's writing. It's kind of like from a mission failed. It's like a little extreme way to put it, but it's like, it's actually a good thing that the soul has an opportunity to come back and get another chance. So like to frame it in a way that what happens when people pass away? What happens is that the people around them all of a sudden go through some sort of like appreciation, right? It's an awakening of life. And I have to tell you, for those of you, has anyone, just raise your hand, ever been with someone at the moment of death? Has anyone? Am I the only one? Duru, Audrey, Catherine, Maricel. So I always like share these things, and I wasn't even planning to share this, but it's such a real story. My mom was dying, and I got to be with her the moment that she died. And as she left the world, I was with her and my brother and my grandma, her mother, and we were so lucky to be in her room. It wasn't even in a hospital. And my whole life, she passed away when I was in my late 20s. And I had always had in my mind that death was something filled with darkness. And at the moment that she passed away, I heard her voice in my head tell me, now you can be the person that you're supposed to be in this world. And I felt like a huge burst of light, which now I would equate almost to like when I gave birth to my children. Like that's how powerful this energy was at the time that she passed away, which was you can imagine that was very, very confusing. Because first of all, I thought that of course I was feeling sad and my body missed her, right? And it was my mother, and I was weeping and, terrified and, scared. What was life going to be without her? And, everything. But in the back of my head, at the same time, I remembered this voice that was telling me, now you can be the person that you need to be in this world. Like she set me free. That was the feeling. And really struggled for like a few weeks with this thought, because and this idea that there was so much light. And I mean, almost like, I think that type of thought and that type of experience, if someone doesn't know these spiritual tools that we're teaching, and doesn't have someone to talk to about it or a way to figure it out, it can actually drive a person to think that they're crazy, right? Like dark moment, mother dying, sadness, and at the same time feeling light, soul, freedom, like hope, right? It's like at the same moment. So after is everyone with me? Just nod your head. Is it too much? Am I giving too much information, or you like it? Carla said it's too much. I'm sorry. It's very intense what I'm sharing. It's real, and I'm being really vulnerable. And, sorry, I'll try to be like more. And then at the same time, my mentor, Karen Berg, when she found out that my mother passed away, she called me and she said, obviously I'm so sorry. And I know that it's so painful, but she also told me, now you can be closer to her than you ever were before. I'll never forget Karen telling me those words. So I had a lot going on for the first few weeks. So much support from my community and friends and teachers. And at the same time, I really was struggling with this thought. So after a few weeks, I spoke to Michael Berg about what I was experiencing. And first of all, it just felt so good to be able to tell someone like the truth that was going on inside of me and something I was struggling with. And now imagine that I never did that after 2 weeks. Like imagine after 1 year, after 5 years, after 10 years, after 20 years, like living with that thought, right? Can't you see that how that would be really difficult? Sorry, I'm coughing. So he told me to take like a whole day in prayer and meditation and connect to my mom, which was really beautiful. It was really special. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because, you know, we frame death as darkness, but the Kabbalists look at death as a fear. The real, right, most of us fear death. It's like, if you know, it's the big fear. So what is the real fear is actually the soul fears. What do you think the soul fears? That it's not going to finish its tikkun and correction in this lifetime. And that's the real fear. It's not the fear of the physical. Maybe it's masked by the fear of the physical, but the real fear of the soul is that it's going to miss the opportunity to correct in this lifetime and have to come again in this lifetime. And did anyone listen to it might have been like too early for you guys, but did anyone listen to the lectures from Rosh Hashanah from Michael Berg? Any of you? Duru. So you're going to remember this, but this year, what Rosh Hashanah is, it's a window, a cosmic window that happens once a year, and it's the new year for every person in the world of the soul. And the lecture that Michael Berg was giving, I was talking about that at the time that the soul comes into the world, as the soul is entering into the world, it lets out like a primordial scream, a cry that this cry is heard through all the corners of the world. Every soul, as it's coming into this physical world, lets out this enormous gut-wrenching cry of, I'm a soul and light, and I'm coming into this world of darkness again. Can you imagine, like, our souls, as they were entering the world, let out this scream that was heard from all ends of the earth, the Zohar teaches. And the power that our soul has is so extreme that if we start to connect more and more and more to who our soul is in this body as we're living, and guided by our soul, we can see fulfillment in everything. We can see light in everything. And I want to share with you, just give me one moment to find the PowerPoint. Usually Michal is organizing this, but I want to share with you all. Hold on. Okay, it's just going to take a moment. I have to open. But I want to share with you all a quote that's from Karen Berg that is exactly this concept. And meanwhile, while I'm opening up the PowerPoint, I just want you to take a moment and write into the chat and see where, what type of fear you have of death. And at the same time, how can you translate that into a fear of your soul not finishing its tikkun? Okay, so just take a moment. Meanwhile, I'm going to open up the PowerPoint. And you can share in the chat as well. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share with you. Okay, some Hugo. I'm afraid of not completing what I came to do, fear of suffering, fear of the pain towards death. My fear has always been not able to finish what I came to do. Fear of death has been twofold: suffering, agony, and not having fulfilled the contract. Wow, Lynette, that's amazing what you wrote. You guys are all writing such beautiful things. Fearful regarding not having lived all the joys, found soulmate, raised a family, fear of the unknown, my tikkun. Okay, you guys, it's really amazing. Okay, I'm going to share this with you now, and you'll see, this is something, can everyone see that? Yes? Can you see that? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, so this is what Karen wrote. Although death is obviously a huge challenge, when a person passes away, there's no end to his or her opportunities to move to a higher level. So indeed, the reason most of us fear death is because we haven't yet finished our job in this lifetime. It's from a book called To Be Continued, that Karen, you can take a screenshot of that if you want for a moment. And then I'm gonna just, I'm gonna go to another slide for just a moment. That's, remember last week we spoke about the levels of the soul? Let me move that in. Hold on. Okay. So these three levels of the soul, to go into them a little bit further. So nefesh is all of these stages of the soul are connected to various stages of life. And the nefesh part of the soul is connected to, but I just want to close my WhatsApp, is connected to it's connected to the blood and to the physical aspect of us. And the part of our nefesh, it never leaves us. Where when, I don't know if you've heard of this in other classes, but it says that Kabbalah explains that when a person sleeps, the soul has the opportunity every single night to leave the body. And as the soul leaves the body, it has the opportunity to be able to go to these higher levels and connect to places that when we're in the normal daytime that we don't have the opportunity to connect to. And at the same time that that's happening, the level of nefesh never leaves a person. And the level of nefesh is what's connected to the the automated systems of the body, the ability, the reminders, like who's reminding your heart to beat? Who's reminding your lungs to breathe? Are you sitting all day and thinking about it? Thinking, are you commanding your brain, think now, your heart, beat now, and your brain, all the organs of your body work now, right? Every breath you take, are you commanding your lungs to do that? No, right? We're on like an amazing autopilot all the time, that when the body is in sync and living, there is an opportunity for the soul to do its correction. So the nefesh is the level of the soul that always stays with the body to do that, to always do the automatic pilot. And the what happens is that when a person passes away and all the parts of the soul leave the body, even the nefesh leaves the body, that there's a teaching that says it's very important to bury the body as soon as possible. And the reason for this is it's almost like counterintuitive, that because the body is physical, and the body came from, what did the body come from? The earth, right? We're made up of minerals and carbon, and the whole system is all material. It's all physical. So the body, when it's in the ground, it's back to the earth, and there's like a relief that happens with that grounding. There's a relief of the soul and a release of the soul. And the release of the soul happens in stages. So in the beginning, when the body is buried, remember, the soul still exists. The soul is still your soul. Your soul is still your soul. The body is buried. This is from lifetimes ago. So there's like a connection still for the first 30 days. There's like a tether or like a rope that's still connecting the soul to be, the soul has not elevated. The soul elevates in process. And the first week or so, there's a time in the first week, a time period that the soul is now getting adjusted to not being in the body anymore. It takes a period of adjustment. And the first 30 days, that adjustment happens, and the body still stays tethered. And there's another connection. So there's a connection after the 7 days. There's a connection after the 30 days. It's like an elevation. And then after 11 months, it doesn't matter what process that tikkun of that soul needs, by the 11th month, the soul has elevated, has elevated and no longer has that connection to the body. And there's a story, like we always think about, like heaven and hell. And the Kabbalists explain a story, like what is this process that the soul goes through as the soul leaves the body? What is this process? And it's hard to understand it physically, like when we're in the physical. And there's a story that I can give you that can kind of equate it to. So if a person, it's like the same scenario, but imagine like there's a student that he had the question to a Kabbalist, and the Kabbalist showed him 2 images. The question the student had was, what is heaven and what is hell? And the Kabbalist first took the student to see an image where there was a circle of people. They all had like spoons that were long spoons attached to their hands, and they were trying to feed themselves. But the spoons were so long that they couldn't get this. The spoon was attached to their hands, and there was no way. There was a huge pot of soup in the middle of the circle, and there was no way that the person could get the soup and put it into their own mouth because their hands had very long spoons attached to them. And the second scenario was the same exact scenario, but the people were different. And they decided that with those spoons, what were they going to do? They were going to feed the mouths of each other, right? The spoons were long enough that they could lean forward. They could stick the spoon in the pot of soup. The person can open their mouth across from them and they can feed the other person. And therefore, someone else was going to feed them. So this is the kind of beautiful image that we can have about the idea about heaven and hell and the cleansing process that a soul goes through. If someone is naturally, or maybe not naturally, but trying harder to be in a sharing mode and understanding that we're all one, that we're all connected, like, you know, less of I don't like this word so much, but like narcissistic life. Like someone that was like extending themselves and looking for opportunities in their lifetime. So that cleansing process that the soul goes through as it elevates is going to look like scenario number 2. You know, where they're in the same exact movie as scenario number 1, but they're in a place where it's heavenly. That, you know, they're able to receive and to be fed by and nurtured by the energy around them. Whereas opposed to scenario number 1 would be how the view of what happens once the cleansing part of the soul happens. If a person wasn't such an engaged advocate for sharing in their life and they were more selfish. So just like babies, you know, when they're born and they go through different stages of development, the soul, as it leaves the body, also goes through different stages of development. And that happens in the first 11 months. So I'm going to share with you again here some of the teachings from the Zohar that explain this deeper. Can everyone see that? Okay, I see Hugo giving me a thumbs up. So it says, Rabbi Yossi said, when the time approaches for a man to die, it's proclaimed in the world that for 30 days that his time has come to die. Even the birds in the sky proclaim it, and if he's righteous, it's proclaimed for 30 days among the righteous in the Garden of Eden. And the reason that we want to teach you about this is because there is a teaching, the Kabbalah explains that the soul knows when it is going to depart from this world. It knows 30 days in advance. And, you know, you might have known someone that was going to pass away and they just had this like, uncontrollable urge without knowing that they were going to pass away to like take care of their affairs, maybe to write, to reorganize, to have conversations with people that they always wanted to have conversations with. I know someone that passed away during COVID, and he had like a little jam session going on with one of his friends, and he wrote to his friend, and maybe like 2 weeks before he was going to pass away. We didn't know that he was going to pass away. 2 or 3 weeks, he said, the next song I want us to learn is Stairway to Heaven. Can you imagine? Like that, like something on a soul level so deeply knows. And what this teaches us in a very interesting way is that there's a difference between the cause of death and the reason the soul has to leave the world. So even if we see something suddenly happen, like an accident, that soul knew for 30 days before the accident that its time to leave the world was coming. And the understanding that the cause of death is not the why, but the cause of death is like, we might look at an accident and say, why did that happen? But it's not, it's like there's so many levels of answers that are available for us to every question that we ask about death. Right? So we might look at it and talk about, this person dying in a freak accident. That's how they died. But the why, it's not why they died, right? They didn't die because the why is something like much deeper than the how. Does that make sense? And to start to just open our eyes and have a different type of perception about this. And here, there's another interesting, I'll show you the quote from the Zohar that I want to share with you. Here it says, we've learned that all these 30 days, the soul ascends each night during these 30 days and looks at his place in the world, and that the human part doesn't know about this and doesn't care or have control over his soul during these 30 days like he did before. It's like the soul has free reign during those 30 days to do whatever it needs to do. The soul can become more louder and stronger and help to prepare the environment around this person for this death. And it says that there's no man who has power over the spirit to retain the spirit. And Rabbi Yudah said, at the beginning of the 30 days, the man's shadows darkened and the shape of the shadow is not seen upon the ground anymore. So it says that the person's shadow, the shadow around the aura, is different than the shadow that's cast. And it says that there's a change actually in the shadow, which is like a spiritual change that's happening, a reflection of what's happening with the physical body, that it's getting darker and darker. And the soul's getting, going through a process of releasing from the body. So there's also an idea that on the, so on the day of the 12th month, and then every year on that day of the anniversary of the day that the soul left the world, there's an opportunity to connect to that soul in a way that it's able to receive all of the gifts from their life. And especially if this is one of the righteous people, one of the sages, you have the opportunity on the day that they passed away, and you can see it in the Kabbalistic calendar, like it's filled with the death anniversary of sages, that there's an opportunity to be able to connect to the soul and all their gifts. And also for you, if you have a loved one that departed, on the day of the anniversary of their death, you have the opportunity to connect to that spark of their soul. And Michelle asked, is the soul ever in shock after leaving the body? The answer is absolutely. One of the things that in the Kabbalistic tradition that we do is we help the soul to do that transition. So the first day, did you ever hear of like Psalms or Tehillim? Did everyone hear of this? Like the writings of King David? So until the body is buried, the Kabbalists have rotations of people that they'll say these psalms to ease the body, to ease the body soul before it's buried. There is a 7-day like mourning period, and the family, and it's specifically for the family of the soul that departed, has like certain ways that they connect also more to the physical and less to the spiritual during those 7 days. There's also an idea to like cover the mirrors in the house where the person lived for those first days after the burial, because the soul can come back and visit the house. And if they look into the mirror, and they're not going to see their reflection, so it can go, the soul can go into shock. It's that period of easing. And the like, I know it sounds like a little bit ghosty, but it's like what I'm telling you is this is real. It's not like legend. You know, I actually was teaching a group of teenagers that was an outreach class. And this was many, many years ago. And they were living in a, I don't know what you call it, like a group home. How do you call a group home? Do you know what I mean? Like they weren't living with their families. They were like in some sort of transitional living because they had really bad situations at home. And I remember just one of them telling the group that they were talking about, they lived there kind of like that. I think they had been in areas maybe like in South Central Los Angeles where there was like murder and scary things coming on. And this young boy said that everyone knows that if there's a murder that happens, that that soul that was murdered comes to the person that murdered them. Like this is something that's known to haunt them. Like this was, you know, you're asking, is there ever shock? But this, and think about like if you go into a graveyard, what's the energy of a cemetery? Like a happy place? No, it has like a dark, heavy energy that is gloomy. Like it's not like a place where you want to celebrate. It's like you know, a graveyard. Like we even use that word, like graveyard shift. Like there's so that you know, that energy emits from the energy of the burial and the process and the shift and the transformation. So this is all like by the way, on the contrary, if and someone asked this before, does the soul ever finish its tikkun? Yes, the soul finishes its tikkun. It is possible. The soul finishes its tikkun. And there, I know it's a lot of information that I'm giving you. It's a lot of details, but these Kabbalists that we talk about and these stories that we tell, like we told a story of the Baal Shem Tov from Eastern Europe from hundreds of years ago. We told stories of Rabbi Isaac Luria. We're reading the Zohar, that's Rabbi Shimon. These are all places that that these tzaddikim, their energy is housed. It's actually housed at their burial sites. So their burial sites are not considered graveyards. And they're not considered to have like any dark energy, but rather they have all of the light that was revealed in their lifetime at the place. So people make meccas and they visit Eastern Europe. The Baal Shem Tov's, I've been there, and my husband, that's like very stoic and not like a cryy, touchy-feely person, he went there. He walked into the Baal Shem Tov's monument, like the grave. It's like a house, and tears just started to like pour down his face, and they wouldn't stop for like 1 hour, maybe more. He just like was uncontrollably like going through some sort of change, transformation, release, like sobbing. And it was so interesting to see, and like actually huge changes happened in our life right on that trip and when we left. So going to visit the righteous souls and these sages are meccas, like that's what I would call it. And specifically by the way, where I am in northern Israel, in Sfat, in the city. Do you remember in Kabbalah 2? Who was in Kabbalah 2 when we did a meditation in the last class from the Rabbi Karen's resting place? Yes. Raise your hand if you remember that. So that's an example of a place that's filled with energy. So imagine in that resting place where the Rabbi Karen, where their bodies are resting, all of the energy there is like every book that anyone has ever read that they wrote. Anytime anyone has ever been able to connect to the Zohar, any Kabbalah class that anyone has ever taken, like that, all of that energy is part of that room. You know, it's just exploding with positive energy and blessings. It's really, really powerful. So we at the center, we actually do like tzaddikim trips and tours. You might see one coming up. You might want to come visit me in Israel, me and Michal, who knows? And actually on a daily basis, that's like most of what I do, is because I'm living here in Sfat. So any Kabbalah Center student from around the world that comes to visit Israel, they're like getting off the plane and they want to drive 2 hours to north of Israel to connect with the Rabbi Karen and receive energy and protection and blessing. And I get to be a part of that, like hosting and connection with them. So I'm very familiar with this positive energy of these sages and these tzaddikim. I think that's a lot for the class. I wanted to kind of try to do a visualization or meditation together for the last few minutes of the class. And I'm just trying to think of the best way to do it, because I want you all to connect more to your soul. Not necessarily to the energy of death, but to the energy of increasing your awareness of the voice of your soul. And I think if you want to think about one place in your life right now that you could really use that guidance from your soul, just take a moment, think about it. And what I would like to do, if you're okay with it, is to kind of guide one of you, and then we're all going to support that one person, and you can see this process as we do it. So think if there's something that you wanted to be guided for. Specifically, what type of transformation you really want to work on. And then you can write it into the chat. Okay, so healing, trusting the light, letting go. Forgiveness. Carla, you want to do the meditation? I see you raising your hand.
Yes, I can. I'm unable to write tonight. That's why I would love to.
Okay. Okay, so what is it?
To be more brave, to change the things have to be changed.
Be more brave. By the way, where are you? Where do you live?
I'm from Hamburg, Germany.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So what, like, you have something specific that you need to be brave about or change?
Yes, I'm on transition to move from Germany, and this means I will have to leave my son, and it's hard.
Yeah. So everyone, while we're doing this together with Carlo, just like really support you, and whatever you're going through, you being vulnerable, you're helping us. So it's okay. It's actually really good to cry right now. And we're gonna help you, and you're gonna get through this. How old is your son? Oh, you muted yourself.
I mute myself. Yeah. My son is 16.
And why do you have to move?
My God. I'm very connected with Germany. I would say, it's a place of sorrow. My soul is connected with my Jewish side, and it's getting me all the sorrows from the country. It got too much my soul, and my soul I have to leave. It's
And why
getting
does your son need to stay?
um I'm looking for it's not it's a decision that I wanted to be very organized. So there is not a specific place I'm searching now. But it's very difficult for me to understand that Germany is the country of my family, is the country of my son, and he loves here, and I cannot, and I have to be egocentric and let him stay and go. For
Because he
me,
wants to stay?
he wants to stay, he loves the place, and he's terrified. Then I'm always so so sad.
Wow.
He doesn't want, he wants that I'm healed. And he also sees the healing process must to be outside Germany.
Wow. And you know where you need to move to?
Um, I pray that I can be able to move to Canada.
Wow. Okay, so what we're gonna do all together, and you can listen to the meditation too. You can close your eyes. And Carla, just close your eyes for a moment, and you can place your hands on your heart, and everyone can do this. And as you're listening to the meditation, you can go through it with Carla, or you can just go through it yourself. So just take a moment to let your body relax. And ask as your intention to connect to the push of your soul to go through your tikkun. And then whatever you want to transform, whatever intention that is, place that in transformation, that desire to transform as a part of it. And then allow yourself to feel that you're sinking into the surface beneath you, and that you have roots, enormous roots, like roots of a banyan tree, spreading out from wherever you are and they're spreading out, and they're covering your entire city block. They're reaching out, and they're covering your entire county. Just huge, huge roots. They're reaching out, spreading all through the continents, all from where you are. Huge roots. Really try to imagine them from where you are, that there's roots, an interconnected system of veins with energy pulsating through them that are wrapped around the entire world from you. And just take that in, take in all of that connectedness, all of that support. And this is the energy of your own internal body soul system. And let yourself go deeply, deeply into this connectedness, and let yourself feel calm and secure and supported. And even though that there's such a feeling of negativity in the physical, in the energy of the 99%, it's completely different. So let yourself place all of the worry and all of the fear, all of the hatred, all of the darkness into those roots. Everything. And you know that once they go into the roots, they have the ability to organically change and transmute and transform. It's so simple. Just take the energy and place it into the roots, and let the earth recycle all of that heaviness, all of that darkness, all of that pain, all of that hatred. Recycle it into light. Recycle it into hope, into dreams, into new beginnings. And listen to your soul and all your angels and all your support and all your guides. Listen to their positive voices singing with glory and reverence and positivity. And listen to the song they're singing. It might sound like bells or birds or words. Just allow yourself to receive these gorgeous notes, cleansing you and filling you with light and certainty and hope, positivity, bright future, much, much, much better tomorrow for you and for your loved ones. You start to see the most magical light spreading through the roots, spreading through the world. Like twinkle lights sparkling And these lights move up through the trunk of the tree, which is your body. And your whole body is activated by your soul. And this light stays with you and reminds you all the time of the truth. You take a deep breath in, you fill yourself up with light. You send that light of positivity again to the world. You thank your angels, your guides, your teachers, and your ancestors for helping you move through this beautiful experience, exposing yourself and reminding yourself of the light. And then bring all of that light back into your room, back into your space. And then whenever you're ready, you can slowly and gently wiggle your toes, move your neck from side to side, wiggle your fingers, release your hands, and then slowly and gently you can open your eyes. Welcome back, everyone. Carla. Do you want to share anything that you heard or experienced?
I heard the birds and I feel lighter. I feel more confident. Thank you so much for this experience. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Sure. And thank you for opening up and letting us into your process. It's not easy. You have so much support, and we're all just balls of energy and soul, and have so much to give and share. So you gave us an opportunity to do that. It's going to be okay. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Like, it's going to be great. Moms and children, you know, we're so connected, and it's just, you know, it's really brave of you.
Thank you.
You know, to know that it's not egocentric. It's soul-centric. And yes, and everyone's saying I felt so much love, and they're thanking you. And it was powerful and energizing. I'm so happy I got to do that with everyone. And now you can, so we're gonna move into the breakout rooms. We don't have like any real announcements. It was great to teach you all that. It was a lot of information, but you know, at the same time, it's the type of information that like stirs your soul and gets you thinking. And also, I think the meditation was super, super powerful. If I actually do those meditations one-on-one, if there's something that you want to transform. So I will ask the mentors to share something from the Kabbalah Center where you can sign up for these meditations if you want. We do them weekly, individually. And what happens is you got a taste of it, but you can imagine, so in that session, you get the meditation recording, you take it, and then you actually listen to it throughout the week with some journaling, also questions that you do. And you can go as you connect your soul in that vulnerable way, much deeper into the process that you desire for transformation. And because it's on a weekly basis for a few weeks in a row, the universe is like gifting you back right away what you're looking for. You're laser focused on it. So I recommend that, and I'll send it to the mentors if it's something that that you're like kind of craving before 2023 or in the beginning of the beginning of the new year. It's really powerful. And thank you all. So you're gonna, for the first time, go into your breakout rooms, And you have these amazing mentors with you, supporting you. And it's going to be amazing. And this is I'm going to put on the screen your assignments. And you can take a screenshot of it also. This is the workshop. So this section of the Zohar teaches us that, you know what, I think for what you should do for the breakout rooms, like just to keep on focused, I think you should share about what you experienced from the class, and also if there's something that came up for you specifically in the meditation. Okay, so you could just use that as an opportunity to share together for the next like 20 minutes or so of the class. Alrighty, and also you can reach out to me always personally. This is my email. I'll put it in the chat, and I'm really accessible and happy to support you and to help you grow your desire. Thank you again, Carla. And it felt like amazing when the birds were singing. I had this awesome experience yesterday. It reminded me, but I'm in a music ensemble, I sing. And most of the women in the ensemble are playing instruments. And it's also in a different language. It's in Hebrew, and it's not like my first language. So sometimes I'll just kind of like be in the back row. It's like two rows in a semicircle, and there's the ensemble leader in the front. And this time I decided I was going to go like right in the front, right in the middle of the ensemble, right in front of the ensemble director. And so I was like looking her in the eye the whole time. It was so awesome. And I got to sing, and then everyone was playing these instruments around me. And it reminded me of that when I was saying like the birds. I felt like I was like enveloped by this amazing energy. It was real. Like there was really instruments, like almost like 360 being played around me. It was so powerful. And the energy of music and vibration, it's an amazing way to change up our heaviness. So you can imagine that there's birds around you, or you could also like go somewhere in nature where there's birds around you that you can hear them. It's really changing the energy. And also birds are a connection to angels. So in both ways. Okay, everyone. Bye. We have someone putting you in. Yes. Okay.